What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Jacked Ramsays Pregame Show. I'm your host, Damian, joined as always by the affable, the lovely, the wonderful, the probably perplexed at the recent news of Brian Kelly leaving Notre Dame and going to LSU.
No.
Oh, did you not know? That just broke like 2 minutes ago.
No, I'm not stunned by that at all. I think it's a great move.
Well, we'll have our college football podcast later, but I just wanted to see if you had seen the news. So,
did you know Brian Kelly was making sub $3 million a year until last year?
at one of the biggest private schools in the country? Yeah, knows.
Who he was taking to the playoff every year?
Well, we can argue about that.
I mean, they were going to – look, I know we can argue, but he got him to the playoff. He took him to national championship. Like, that dude was making, like, Jonathan Smith money.
Which, when you're at, again, one of the richest private schools in the country, is kind of it's a fire your agent situation.
Or kill a kid. I don't know.
Yeah. Listen, normally I'd be like, let's keep the slander a minimum, but it's Notre Dame and it's Brian Kelly, so we are pro always slandering of, the Ducks and Notre Dame. So welcome into the pregame show. I'm your host again, Danny Marang, joined as always by Brandon Sprague. Tonight's game against the Utah Jazz wraps up a 3-game road trip that has seen the Blazers fall to 0-2, 1-9 on the road, looking for their second road win of the season. That sounds really shitty to say. I'll be flat out on a second road win in their 11th game.
I had somebody text me yesterday, and they basically like, hey, man, I'm a couple episodes behind, but are you guys going to have an uplifting podcast at any point soon? And I said, well, we'll see what the team decides.
Listen, here's the thing. When this team gives me something legitimately joyous, like let's say Dame goes for a 50-piece tonight, I won't be Downer Danny. Like I will if they go out and Dame drops a 50-piece and they lose.
Well, that's going to be one way to piss us off.
Exactly. So we're getting some. How about the USC head coach hiring of Lincoln Riley? Listen, folks, I am pro that move. Lincoln
How
Riley
are you anti that move?
Yeah, Lincoln Riley was like Lincoln Riley was scared of the SEC. I don't care. He's a recruiting monster. So.
Well, I mean, you got to look at it from Lincoln's perspective. I don't know if it's scared of the SEC or would you rather
be
just
in Norman
always
or
be in
LA.
the playoff? You know what I mean? Like,
listen, that path to the playoff doesn't get any easier than the Pac-12.
I mean, it boils down to who's going to outcoach one another between him and Mario Cristobal. I think
I know which way I'm leaning. So, Eric Marantetti says, True Hoop Today said Blazers need to change starting five, hinted CJ to the bench, but that would screw up his trade value, maybe his attitude. Less about his trade value, more about attitude and position in the NBA. That's never going to happen.
Never.
If it happened to CJ McCollum, it would happen on his next contract.
Well, I've said some pretty blasphemous things.
After this big contract. Like the next one's kicking in. The one that's kicking in next year. After that contract, then I could see it happening. I could see him becoming a six-man, like a super six-man.
Hey, man, I once held the opinion that CJ's a slightly better version of Jamal Crawford.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I've never said anything that's why he unfollowed you. That right there, I've never been that slanderous.
Are we going to slander Jamal Crawford?
Listen,
is that where we're going with this?
Listen, JC is one of the most fun players that's ever played this game. But
he went 2 or 3 six-man of the years.
Yeah, but outside of scoring, not a ton of value. And even
what does CJ do when he doesn't score?
Outside of scoring, not a ton of value. But
it's not really that crazy when you say it out loud. It sounds nuts. It sounds like a diss.
It is in the sense of like
Crawford played like 18 seasons. He was a good player.
No. I am not saying he's not a good player. He was a very, very good player by NBA standards. There's no
I know.
doubt. But I think there's a pretty sizable gap between the two.
Yeah, like 3 points per game.
God, just vicious.
I'm just kidding.
No, you're not, and it's okay.
This was back when
I don't fight it that much, but I don't fight it that much. I'm a little biased against JC because of the mutiny in the locker room.
Sure.
So because I was a big Crawford guy, just as far as like watchability, but the stuff I heard behind the scenes kind of ruined him for me.
Oh, I heard some really bad stuff when he was here, but when I was saying that, like, one, I know CJ's a little more gifted, but that was when they had LaMarcus and he was a young player. And I'm like, if the dude can get buckets, like maybe he's going to be the Jamal Crawford.
No, and that was a good position for them to be in. I think that was always going to be the case, is that CJ got put in a position of being a number 2, and he never should have been that. And that kind of, but I think he was elevated to that because of Neil.
Well, I think for everybody that when we throw things that Neil has not done well or missed on, I think the one thing that's, I wouldn't say unfair. Well, you could say unfair. I genuinely believe that he thought LaMarcus was coming back. So everybody, it's like, you should have got value. How do you get nothing for LaMarcus? Yeah, I get it. And LaMarcus was kind of a different duck, but I do feel like he thought LaMarcus was going to resign.
I'll fight you on that one, but that'll be for a different day. Portland Trailblazers take on the Utah Jazz tonight, and I stuck this little nugget in there because I promised I would. Did you see what the record was not in the tweet, Sprague?
The what?
What the Blazers record was in Utah all time. I put it in the tweet.
Ooh, I didn't see it.
Okay.
Is it, let me guess, they have, like, all time
in Utah.
They have 26 wins.
23.
Oh, wow, even worse than I thought.
23-75. This is game 99 in Utah.
Jeez, man.
So what's funny is, as bad as that is, it's still a better winning percentage than the Blazers have on the road this season.
Okay, well.
So, for those of you that have not watched the Utah Jazz this season, they have been a bit of a weird duck. They have kind of, as good as they have been, they've had some very low points. There has been some folks who say that it's time for a coaching change while at the same time playing brilliantly well. It's a very weird situation in Utah, because if you go look at where they sit in the league, Sprague, if I told you that team had the number 1 offense, would that surprise you?
No, they're really, I mean, I know you don't like this, but I'm just using it as one of the maybe examples of why. I think that you're probably not wrong. Like, passing the ball doesn't correlate to having the best offense, but I think when you do it well,
when you have multiple playmakers, that's the difference.
Yes, and Utah has both of those things. They share the ball well. They have multiple guys who can put the ball on the floor.
Ingles is phenomenal, and he does not get the credit he deserves in that vein. Yeah. It is what he does to grease that. Last year, he should have won 6th Man of the Year. There's not a doubt in my mind that he should have won it.
Over his teammate?
Yes. Clarkson scored more. Ingles was significantly more valuable.
Oh, I wouldn't argue the value. I just think it was.
It's always who scores most. That's what.
That award's about who gets buckets off the bench.
It is what it is in that. Yeah. But here's the thing about this team: they have the 5th best defensive rating. 2 top 5 ratings, but they're 13-7. If you go by cleaning the glass, their point differential, and this is where some of the stuff gets a little bit skewed. It's been a little bit weird. Is second in the NBA at plus 11.3, trailing only the Warriors, who at plus 14.1. Their expected wins, Sprague, based on that point differential, where would you peg them? How many wins do you think a plus 11 point differential would plug you in the NBA?
56?
10 more. 66.
66. God.
So when they have taken care of business, they have taken care of business.
Yeah.
The Warriors are on a 71 win pace. The Utah Jazz are at a 66 win pace based on their point differential and expected Pythagorean wins. Mm-hmm. It's a very, very nerdy way to say, to kind of frame, based on performance, you would expect this team to have this many wins at the end of the season. And I think that's a good place to break up the tiers, because Golden State's at 71, Utah's at 66, Phoenix is at 60, and then after that you get the Heat at 58, the Bucks at 54, the Nets at 53, and then the Bulls at 53. After that, nobody else is at 50. Mm-hmm. So I think you get the 3 clearly best teams in the NBA right now, which I keep hearing the West is down. There's a little, it's like, no. The top 3 teams in the West, Golden State, Utah, and Phoenix, they're very good teams.
Well, let me ask you this, though. Would you pick all three of those teams in the West to beat the top three in the East?
Yes.
So you think Utah is capable of getting to a finals and beating any of the teams in the East?
Yes. I think they have been for a couple years. It's just whatever it is, whether it be health.
That Gobert stuff was bad in the playoffs, man. Like, that was bad.
And I don't think it was I think Rudy got unfairly criticized in that vein. I thought that his teammates screwed him over. I thought Conley and Mitchell were both pretty bad at point of attack. That put them in a bad position. So if those guys step it up enough, they can clear some things up. But as much as jokes are made about the Jazz, I have bought this team for the last 3 years. But I am a big-time Mitchell guy, so that shouldn't surprise anybody.
No, I mean, I think they're legit. I'm not one that, like, writes them off of winning the West.
If I said this team went to the Western Conference Finals, would you be surprised?
No. I think we've seen examples like them before, of really good regular season teams, and it takes them a while to kind of break through. Like, everybody makes all the jokes about Utah back in the day with Stockton and Malone and not getting a ring in that era, but like they were kind of one of these teams
every year.
Every year they were one
Portland
of the best
was
teams
that.
in the league. Yes,
Portland is, and this is the difference between the first really from 84 to 99 generation of the Blazers. Basically, my childhood. From that 16 years, they were a really good team.
Yeah.
Not of, well, if you squint, the second they started adding guys to Clyde and Terry, that's when it was like, remember, NBA Finals, like they were there. They just came up short. And I think Utah, while not quite there, is kind of there now. But I say all of that to say that to kind of tier these teams. You've got those three teams, and then after that, Portland is in that mess. But I think they're kind of at the bottom of that mess. Like, do you think they're better than the Clippers? I don't. You go through their Dallas, Denver, if even remotely healthy. It's like, no. Memphis.
All Denver needs is Jokic to play, and Portland would lose.
Yes, that's been demonstrated already.
Yeah.
So, could Portland finish 4th or 5th in the West? Yeah, but is it going to matter in the grand scheme of things? No, because the gap is still going to be really big. And I say all of that to get into tonight's matchup against the Jazz, because the way that this team plays, Brandon, Mitchell's clearly the straw that stirs the drink. It's no longer like, where does that pecking order fall? It's Mitchell. Mitchell is that dude, averaging 23 a game. Subpar shooting from three so far this season, particularly from him and Clarkson. Mitchell at 32%, Clarkson at 28%. Which means what, Brandon? What's going to happen tonight?
They're going to shoot about 58% is what's going to happen tonight.
Right. So, yeah, because if you look at this Utah team and you look at their shot profile, let's go shooting frequency. All right. They, as a team, excuse me, I clicked the wrong. Need team stats. There we go. Shooting frequency. This year, they are a bad rim shooting team on frequency, 21st in the NBA, 30%. Corner threes, they are number 1.
What's Portland really awful at?
Dribble, drive, penetration, and giving up the corner three.
Okay.
They are the number 1 3-point shooting frequency team in the NBA, accounting for 45% of their total field goals. Shooting accuracy. All three-pointers, they are actually struggling a little bit. 11th overall. Massive volume, not quite the efficiency. But considering how poorly their volume shooters are shooting, that they're still right there in the top 10, doesn't bode well for Portland tonight.
It's a tough matchup, man. I mean, this is, first of all, I can't believe we have not addressed the elephant in the room.
Which one is that?
Well, it's the Hassan Whiteside revenge game.
How
dare you?
You know what? Screw it. I'm going to go away from the what to watch for against the Utah Jazz, and I'm going to pull up my Jusuf Nurkic box, and I have his stats from last night.
Oh, his stats.
I'm sorry. No. I have a lower third of Jusuf Nurkic, and it is, if you can't play versus Utah, because it's Gobert and it's Whiteside, you're not getting your ass played off the floor tonight by them going small. That's not what they do.
Yeah, but you still get your ass played if they run big, so it doesn't matter.
If he gets played off the floor about them being big, then it's over.
Yeah, but Yeah, Danny, he's already been played off the floor by a backup big this season.
I'm just saying.
Drummond.
I'm not.
Drummond.
I am not fighting against that. But remember, this is the same guy who said, "Better, I'm glad I got my workout." Well, you gotta get your workout tonight, big fella.
I want to bring up his
30 minutes is on the table for you tonight.
Oh, I mean, it kind of has to be, right?
Zeller's going to make an appearance.
Yeah, he needs to get. By the way, talk about a guy kind of slumping. We need to start feeling Cody Zeller's act a little.
Well, he just hasn't played minutes. They've been going smaller.
I know. But like when he's getting the minutes, it's still kind of like he's kind of run of the mill role guy.
Yeah, well, I think that's kind of what he is, though. So
yeah.
I don't get too mad about the vet minimum guy giving you like good vet minimum production, right? But you take a look at this Utah team, and this is kind of one of the things I was highlighting tonight was Jusuf Nurkic. 17, 4-3, 6-10 against Golden State. Like, he looked okay, but his impact was not felt.
Mm-hmm.
He was the second leading scorer because Damian and CJ both had 16. Anthony Simons with 19. When you look at Nurk in this matchup, like, this is one that he has to win, right?
I mean,
not even win, just
I don't think he can win this. I don't think he can win.
I think he can, but
I see. I'm not. I don't know. I'm not really big on him when he plays Utah. Now, if you were to, I'm pulling up his stats right now, all time versus the Jazz. He's a 9-6 guy. Like, that's the other thing I was gonna say, and I wanted to confirm it by looking at the stats. I feel like every time I have watched Jusuf Nurkic play Utah with the Gobert era, I just feel like Gobert is dominating glass. He's grabbing every board, and I get it. He's the Stifle Tower. He's got a longer reach. I get all that, but there is at least what's the weight difference between these two gentlemen? 45 pounds?
I don't think it's that much. Like,
okay, 30? Would you go 25?
Nurk is bigger, and I want to make sure I don't sell this short. Nurk is bigger. There's no doubt. I told you my story about sitting next to Rudy, right, at Summer League?
Maybe.
So this is like 2015, and I was at UNLV in between games, and I'm sitting in the stands, and there's the like players and personnel and team executives will like sit in the stands, like kind of like a roped off area, and I was sitting right there alongside it, and I was leaning back, stretched across the bleachers. You know what I mean? Like a couple rows.
Yeah.
Rudy,
cool guy in high school pose.
Yeah, exactly, 100%.
Like
just sitting back, just kind of looking around the gym, seeing who I could see. Yeah. I mean, you're trying to air out a little bit. It's nice and cool because it's 1 billion degrees outside. You're trying to, just keep the movement of the air going. And Rudy comes over, gives me and sits next to me and does the exact same thing, just kind of being a smart ass. But it was great. But he took up like 6 more rows. And not just how long his legs and arms are, but he's this wide. Like, he is huge. It is hard to understate or overstate how big Rudy Gobert really is because he looks so lanky. I bet you if you throw him on a scale alongside Jusuf Nurkic, it's maybe 25 pounds.
What does he have him, though? Like 2 inches, 3 inches?
Height-wise, probably 3 inches.
Yeah.
Nurk's right at 7 foot. Gobert's, I think, about 7'2".
Right. That's like why Chet Holmgren's like 190 pounds is because he's just 7 feet of bone.
Yeah, he just weighs nothing. But Rudy is so big.
I don't refute that. He's ripped. He's in great shape. My point is, Jusuf Nurkic has the body type
to inflict punishment,
to wear him out, to put his body against him, board him, like kind of beat him up a little bit. And I just feel like when I watch them play and watch him play against him, he doesn't do it.
Eduardo Tovar says, I bet Nurk gets a technical tonight. Honestly, I hope he does.
It'd be nice to see that kind of fire.
Because he hasn't had the swagger. He hasn't had the fire. He hasn't had the shit talking. Like, I want to see some life out of him.
The most life we've seen is when he threw his mouthpiece.
Yeah.
Against Chicago.
And listen, I just want to see him have some real fire. I went and took a look at all of his matchups all time against Gobert. And it's not a ton of matchups in Portland, honestly, because obviously
because of his injuries.
Yeah, because time was missed. His best game against Gobert, 22, 8, and 7.
I mean, his numbers career 9 and 6.
Yeah, 22, 8, and 7. But he also had 6 blocks that night. It was a good damn night, and that was January 21st of 2019, nearly 3 years ago.
I mean, he has better numbers against Portland than he does against Utah.
From his days in Denver, he had a couple. He had a couple good games.
He played 7 games against Portland. I mean, that's not to say he can't have a good game. I don't want people to misconstrue that, but like this is
It
what
just
we're
hasn't.
talking about.
It hasn't gone well.
Come out and set the tone a little bit, kind of be that force. When he sat like that next to you, I would have like jokingly just stretched all the way to try to match.
Oh, I did. Oh, I 100% did. I was like,
You know what I mean? Like I would have slid my legs and my arms down.
And I was nowhere even close. Like his, like, you know, when you do that and you get that like 90-degree bend in your legs to the next row down.
Yeah.
His were like 3 rows down.
Sometimes you gotta be careful that your feet go numb because they're just hanging too much.
Yeah, that's probably what cut off the circulation in my hips right there. That's probably what did it.
That was the day. Rudy Gobert's fault.
Everything was Rudy's fault. So you take a look at tonight's game, and you're taking a look at obviously the Utah Jazz, who are a very good team, but in a very weird place. And I look at this and I go, oh, the Portland Trailblazers they're just in time for a get-right game.
Well, I mean, at least you could say this. They lost to New Orleans. Then they had a get-right game, and they clobbered New Orleans. So maybe this is we take a step back, and then we take a step forward after Portland. I doubt that's the case, but that
Remember we were jokingly saying that the Kings missed their chance for a get-right game after firing Luke Walton. They're like, no, they went out there and they laid an egg, and then they came out there and dropped 125 points on the Blazers. I'm getting those same vibes.
Yeah.
Getting those same vibes.
Well, also, you mentioned Utah's kind of like how their stats don't necessarily line up with where their record is right now. Mm-hmm. I would argue that like November, like early November, was their bad basketball. Now, again, you lose to the Pelicans at home. That's a problem. They called it out, and then they kicked their ass the next day. But they had a stretch there in early, almost mid-November. They lost 4 or 5. Mm-hmm. We know this team is too good to be doing that. Yeah. And the numbers tell us that. So it's going to sound a little pessimistic from our end, but it's hard for me to foresee them like going loss, win. Like they're not going to keep
juggling being a 500 team. They're going to string together some wins.
That's not who they are.
No, they're a very, very, very good regular season win team. And that whole profile thing that I said with them being 66 wins, right now Portland profiles as a 45 win team.
Boy. How about that, huh?
I think it's 45.7 to be exact. I'd have to double check it.
You're welcome, America.
But the difference when we're talking about, yes, the Utah Jazz are 13-7. And the Trailblazers are 10-10. That's only 3 games. It's not but their profiles, that is 2 significantly different profiles of teams. Mm-hmm. One is trending significantly better. One, even when they have bad games, they take care of the things that they should. Do they have a bad loss against the Pelicans? Yes. The Blazers have a lot of bad losses. That's kind of the situation they're in. So let's take a look real quick at a couple storylines. We already hit on Jusuf Nurkic, but Damian Lillard, this isn't like another second homecoming for him. This is the Damian Lillard road trip, right? He goes back home to the Bay for Thanksgiving. Now he heads back to Utah, just down the road from Ogden where he went to college. He had the tryptophan hangover against the Warriors. 16.6 assists was not a factor. Got to give the Warriors credit for doing that. It's been a little while since Mike Conley was true Damian Lillard kryptonite. It's been probably 2 or 3 years now. But he still does bother Damian Lillard. Conley is still smart enough. And I'm wondering tonight, have we seen if Royce O'Neal's going to give it a go yet? I haven't seen an update.
I haven't seen anybody tweet anything out about that. I was looking for it.
Let me take a look and see if there's an injury update. It was Royce O'Neal is out.
He's out tonight.
So Royce O'Neal is out.
Thank God.
I was wondering if he would be stuck on Damian Lillard tonight.
Just a spot-up shooter who plays defense out. Thank you, God, for that. They needed that.
It's just one more body that can throw at Dame, too.
Oh, yeah, I know.
It's just one of those things. It's like, oh, okay. So do you maybe get some Eric Paschall? Probably. They can definitely go a couple different ways in that regard. But we'll see. Without O'Neal, they don't have that wing type that can sit there and really beat on somebody physically and get away with it. Paschall's actually been pretty good for them.
How dare you disrespect Rudy Gay?
Listen, I love Rudy, but Rudy and I are both in the same boat as far as our basketball games are concerned, and it is strictly below the rim and no Achilles.
Wow. Rudy's just out there earning millions. You're getting ready for hip surgery.
Listen, man, I'm just saying. Listen, I'm just saying. just like overall overarching like themes for basketball right now. Neither one of us is taking on a primary assignment anytime soon. Let's be honest.
Hey, we had a kid in high school that he could shoot a little bit, but he was anytime put the ball on the court, it was like Al-Farouq Aminu.
Oh.
And one day our coach stopped practice. He had a turnover, stopped practice. It was like, you know what your best move is? This. Just do this and wait for the goddamn ball and shoot it. Stop putting the ball on the ground. He didn't dribble the rest of the season.
Listen,
that's what Rudy Gay has become.
Listen, Rudy can still do like a little bit of creation, but it's just the dude has had some injuries. He is getting long in the tooth. I love me some Rudy Gay. If Rudy Gay's coming off the bench for the Portland Trailblazers, I'm in a happy place. Like
how many Blazer fans not listening to this pod but are going to watch the game in their living rooms going, "Oh, Rudy Gay's on the Jazz. Didn't know that."
Oh, of the percentage of people watching tonight, a quarter. Oh shit,
that's
Rudy's
low.
in Utah. Okay,
that's low.
Him and Jeff Green are just guys who are just like, oh, that's where he's at. Okay, because both those guys ultimately end up killing Portland regularly. Obviously, other pregame news: Norman Powell out tonight versus Utah. Pay no attention to the stats there because I'm an idiot. I grabbed the wrong copy. But yeah, Norman Powell out tonight. So we are getting Snell-o-vision. Tony Snell is a starter. Brandon Sprague, it took Chauncey Billups 20 games to become Terry Stotts.
How dare you? Substantially better coach than Terry Stotts. Don't you know?
20 games before he was like, nah, give me the vets.
Give me the vets. Give me the length. I'm done with this small guard inexperienced situation. I love the way he described him too. Like, I just wanted to get him some looks.
Listen.
You're only 10-10. It's only a huge game against a Western Conference foe. No big deal.
And this is not a shot at Nas. I would not be surprised if Nas got close to 30 minutes tonight.
Nas better play 30 minutes tonight.
I have a reeling suspicion that both Nas and Ant are both going to play over 25 tonight. Probably 27 to 29, right in that range.
Tune in for Love It, Like It, and Leave It.
Yeah, so that's exactly. I was going to go to Ant and then go right into that. Snell is not they're going to put him. They're going to put him as a point of attack on Mitchell, and it's going to be bad.
Yeah,
it's going to be bad. I hope that's not the case. I hope they don't put him there. But if they don't put him there, then they're going to swap CJ there, and that's
that's going to be problematic.
He's going to cook either way.
There's going to be a lot of lobs to Gobert, and you're going to be like, what's going on right now?
Vertical spacing is something that this Portland team struggles with. There's no doubt about it, and Snell does not take that away. Nas is your best option in that regard. So, again, I expect him to play a lot of minutes in that regard. God, I said a lot of regards there.
That's okay. That's all right.
You know, you get stuck on a word sometimes. You're just like, regards.
Regardless of that, we can just move on, you know?
Anthony Simons, he's got to keep it going. 19 points, 2 assists, 6 rebounds, 3 steals, 7 of 13, 5 of 10 from 3. Safe to say the young buck found his shooting stroke against the Golden State Warriors. If anything positive came out of that Warriors game, it was Ant finding his jump shot again. Yes?
Yeah, it was nice to see Ant maybe feel good about himself a little bit.
Yeah. If you guys missed it in the post-game press conference, Ant sounds like shit.
Yeah, well, he's dealing with something, man.
I talked to him afterwards. I'm like, you feeling all right? Because you sound awful. He goes, I feel better than I sound. So,
one of those situations. I know what that's like.
But he sounded awful in the post game. It was, kind of a good game. It was like, oh man, that's.
Well, I have a theory that this year everybody's kind of going out far more than they did a year ago, and everybody in my house has basically got like a cough of some sort.
Something.
Everybody has something right now, and obviously we're like, is that a COVID cough? But I think a lot of people are.
You still get mostly a lot of. You sure about that?
I'm just amazed that there's actually a decent amount of people. I experienced it this weekend. Still comfortable coughing like right next to people, and I'm still kind of like.
I do the.
If I have to cough or something, I will either hold it, suffer, or I will run away from somebody just so I don't make them feel uncomfortable.
I do the rattle.
Do a lot of hold sneezes. A lot of hold coughs.
Yeah. No, not that at all. Love it, like it, leave it. Brandon Sprague, what is your love it tonight?
I love Damian Lillard. homecoming game.
Mhm.
He
Mhm.
wears the letter O in Parsh because it's Ogden, Utah, so he loves to give a big fuck you to the Jazz, and I'm going to look for him to set the tone and set the energy. I'm sorry I just cursed there. I will not do that again in a
No,
pregame.
it's wonderful. It's totally fine.
But look, he's had some really good games in Utah. He's also had some struggle bus games, but this is one of those you mentioned. He likes to put on a show. Didn't really get to do that as well against Golden State. And I think maybe we can get a better game from Dame, not to rhyme there. And so
better game Dame. All right.
Better game Dame. This team goes as Dame goes. Well, I love it is Damian Lillard set the tone and try to keep up with Donovan.
Well, you're a coward and you took mine, so I'm going to go and I'm going to double down on it. Yes, Damian Lillard is going to be the guy tonight. That is my love it. He needs a breakout game, and here's the thing. The Jazz are a good defensive team, but they do not have the bodies to throw at Damian Lillard like the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors have a crap ton of wings and length to throw at you endlessly. They have the Defensive Player of the Year. Then they have Andrew Wiggins. Then they have it's just more and more and more and more, and they will just wear you down. The Jazz do not have that, and their best point of attack guy who can sit there that they would just sick on Damian Lillard, Royce O'Neal, is out. So, excuses not there. I don't want to hear the end of the road trip. They've had some space in between games. They've had some time. You've been in Utah for a couple days. I know it's at altitude, but for the love of God, if you are going to sit here and talk about how you're figuring things out and everything's coming together and we're uniting and we're a winning team, we're better than this, then go win a damn game that you're not supposed to win. Ultimately, go win.
I mean,
that
they
game.
did against Chicago. They were supposed to win that game the way they were playing that first half. They should have been on 50 points.
At home.
Yeah, you're right.
Shorthanded.
Right. I get what you're saying.
What is your like it tonight?
My like it is Zach Collins coming off the. Oh wait, our number 10 pick's already not on the team.
Jesus.
Another pick is on the other team. All right, all NBA guy. Why would we want Donovan Mitchell? No, my like it is going to be
Zach just catching strays,
causing a lot of pain to Blazer fan listening right now. But my like is going to be Nas.
Ooh.
Look, you're probably going to go in, and I think you'd be wise to do that. He's going to be really important for them off the bench, and we know of all the scores they have, that's the guy from the bench group. But I'm going to go Nas because I think he's going to be valuable in a lot of other areas for them. I think what he's going to bring defensively is huge. You're going to need him to stay out of foul trouble, and I think if he can do that, we may be talking in the postgame, hopefully with a close loss and or a win, about, hey, Nas did some really good things. Nas was crashing the glass. Nas was putting some pressure on guys like Joe Ingles and making him feel a little old tonight. And hopefully hitting some jump shots. I feel like he's had a couple moments where he's looking a little comfortable shooting the three. I don't think the numbers bear that out. It's just more of like a feel in what I'm seeing. So I think Nasir Little is going to be my like it tonight because aside from Ant and how important he is scoring, I think everything else Nas does is going to be very vital for them to have a chance to win this game.
I don't disagree with a single word you said, but I'm also going to take Anthony Simons because I think he has been in a bit of a funk with his hand on his wrist and then not feeling good. And every time he seems to have a breakout good game, you typically see Chauncey go, I should probably go to that a little bit more. Because when you give Ant more leash, he has delivered this year. And when you saw his minutes kind of shrink and he kind of leaned on Nas a little bit more, you saw Ant's contribution fall off a little bit. So I think you're going to see that ramp up again with Ant. I would not be surprised if he had his best scoring output of the season tonight.
Love it.
Just saying. What is your leave it tonight?
How much time do you have?
Well, until tip-off, we got 14-plus minutes. So.
I mean, honestly, I don't know if you can identify just one leave it with this. It's feels like the fourth or fifth time I've said this as a leave it, but I'm gonna use this because this is important now as it has ever been. You said that they need to win a road game or a game where we kind of go, whoa, okay, they probably weren't supposed to win that, and they did. You're not doing it against this Utah team unless you're playing sound defense. Now, I'm not expecting you to hold Utah to sub 103 points tonight here. I'm betting the over this game.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to get wild. But it's the only chance you have is to have some really key defensive stops and to limit the damage from the perimeter. You are not capable of stopping it. That is not who you are. But you have got to limit it. You need to rotate. And I'm tired of seeing guys not communicate or other guys get pissed by the lack of communication and or effort. So please, for the love of God, leave the awful perimeter defense. Otherwise, you are going to get torched again.
Yeah, I'm going to go down that path and then take a left in Albuquerque. Mine is the Utah Jazz. We already know they're a perimeter-oriented team. They are the number 1 3-point shooting team by volume. But they're not a great transition team. They don't force a ton of turnovers. Do not give them free opportunities. Do not turn a team that doesn't turn you over into a turnover-forcing team.
Yep.
That's not what they excel at. So
what's the number? What's the number for you that like they can get to it, but they can't go past it?
12.
Yeah.
Take care of the damn ball.
Yeah.
Take care because this is a team that's going to put pressure on you offensively all night long. They have too many bleeping scorers. You go up and down the list. You got Mitchell averaging 23. Then you've got Bogdanovich at 17, Clarkson at 15, Gobert at 15, Conley at 14, Rudy Gay at 10. Ingles is only averaging 8, but you look at his stat line, you're like, oh, he's giving you 8 points, a couple of rebounds, a couple of assists. And you look up and down, you're like, God, there's a lot of people. Like, we've seen games where Joe Ingles has won games for the Utah Jazz. Okay,
he won a playoff series for the Utah Jazz against Russ and PG.
When you look at this, if I told you Donovan Mitchell won you the game, you wouldn't be surprised. If Bogdanovich won you the game, you wouldn't be surprised. If Clarkson won the Jazz the game, you would not be surprised. If Rudy Gay got hot and had a 28-point game, you wouldn't be surprised. You wouldn't be surprised with Ingles, and you wouldn't be surprised with Conley. Sound like it's a recipe for disaster for Portland? Yeah. So don't give the Jazz any extra opportunities. And speaking of opportunities, there's opportunities to gamble, ladies and gentlemen. So with that, I should say, let's take a look at our jacked up line of the night. And Brandon Sprague already teased it a little bit. Where did I put it? For the love of God, there it is. I got to make sure I save it under the right name. Blazers are dogs, bigger dogs in Utah than they were in Golden State.
Not a good sign there, Bob. Not a good sign.
Not good at all.
That is indicative of is Vegas thinking one of the two guards is going to have a bad night mixed with no Norm Powell, mixed with where the hell else are you getting production? That's a possibility.
And Utah back of a road trip at elevation.
7.5. I mean,
is it 7.5 now?
It's 7.5. You need to understand that's a big number in the NBA for almost any match.
It was 7 when I grabbed this 5 minutes before we started.
Like Washington, here's an example. Washington is only 3-point favorite against the Spurs. The Spurs are awful this year.
And Washington's been playing very good.
Very good basketball.
Is that in San Antonio?
It's in San Antonio.
So this year, the home court is worth about 2.5 points.
Okay, so like that's the point.
So that's the thing. Portland is down 5 off home.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Yeah, that is a lot. Okay, I want to be wrong. I want to be proven wrong. I'm gonna take Utah minus the 7.5, and I'm absolutely hammering the over of I got 221.5.
Ooh, did you?
That's the live line. I didn't bet that.
I should have waited.
Yeah.
223.
Yep, that's what it opened at.
Yeah, that's what I took at. I was like,
it went down. So it's going down a couple points. I still wouldn't be scared off that. Portland almost always, you're like, oh, they're not going to hit the over, and then a 2-minute burst happens, and you're like, well, they cleared the over.
Yeah, and in the last game, they hit it with like 16 seconds left, and I was like, there it is. Straight up, Portland is plus 225.
That's, I mean,
it's good value.
It's not bad.
Good
not bad
value, but that's also telling you, don't touch that.
Whatever your unit is, and a unit is basically how much you make per bet, like how much you're laying every bet. That's basically what a unit is. They just try to be fancy in Vegas. Whatever your unit is, if you're going to lay a unit on Portland ever, I would rather just bet the money line.
Really?
Well, we gotta remember, most people's, I think the average price of a unit for people is like sub $12.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, like we're not all Danny Marang out here betting $85 to $1,000 on every game.
Listen, the four-figure numbers,
degenerate.
The four-figure numbers only happen twice a year. Twice a year, and almost never on the NBA.
Yeah, it's almost always on USC overs, and you don't hit them.
Listen, Listen, I haven't.
This is my last time to get those jokes in because you guys are back. You're back.
I have not filed a single USC bet other than our bet. And I still owe you a pizza.
Hey, the fighting condoms are back, baby.
They are. I typically tend to put money on big USC games.
How has not one USC player been in a Trojan condom commercial? Like, how is Reggie Bush not the face of that product? Trojan man.
Well, you know who should be? No, I can't say that.
Who are you going with?
I was going to go with what's his name, the cornerback for the Jets. Cromartie. Was he got 9 kids?
Oh man. He needs to be spokesman of like, hey, I got a vasectomy and I still have 3 kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Woof.
Joey asks, who do y'all see as the best team in the NBA right now?
Oh, that's a great question.
Warriors. Right now, that's Warriors. They're the class.
I disagree with that. I'm
really?
I'm going to push back. Golden State's amazing. I wouldn't want to see him. I'll tell you that much. I'm sticking with my boy.
You want to Phoenix?
No, what? Who do you think my boy is?
I don't know if you're a big, D-Book guy.
D-Book's cool. Not really a big Chris Paul guy.
That's fair.
No, my guy in Milwaukee.
Yeah, and they are playing really good basketball right now.
They finally got Middleton and Holiday back. And
Drew's been cooking all of a sudden. It's been like, oh, there's Drew. And this is very reminiscent of last year. They were 16-13 through 29, I think is what they were. It wasn't it was like they were good, but it wasn't.
We were wondering out loud, like, hey, who should the Batman to Giannis be? And it's like,
is it Drew or Chris? And then it was like, it's Chris.
I think Perk was on the record on ESPN, like at the midway point. He basically was like, Giannis isn't even a Robin. It's like,
yeah, he did say. Well, Perk says a lot of really stupid things.
Well, Perk is the Rex Ryan of the NBA. It's a big name that they say, hey, just say everything, and we don't care.
Go for it.
There's no research involved, but I think that would be a fun series. I think both teams can make a case that they would cause a lot of problems. I don't know who in the living F would guard Giannis. Giannis, I think, would kill Draymond.
Dre's still smart.
Very smart, but I think Giannis would get more whistles and Dre would get,
Dre would get put on a few posters. Giannis is such a freak that, yeah, he should win that matchup. He's that dude. He's a 2-time MVP, Finals MVP, Defensive Player of the Year. He should. But I would say the Warriors should be healthy by then, and you would have Wiseman too. You would have some more size to put out there.
Giannis would love to eat that kid alive.
Listen, I'm just saying they wouldn't get crushed by size. Like they would have a little bit more by then. So
would your 2 top teams be
those 2 teams? Warriors and Bucks.
Okay, who's your third? In a play, like I'm thinking of the playoffs too. Like
right now, Suns. I don't trust the Nets. I don't trust them.
Okay.
They don't have the depth. They're an injury away. Kyrie's a nutcase.
Yeah.
Who's yours? Nets.
Miami.
That's good.
When they get healthy.
When they get healthy, defensively, they're just a nightmare. They run that lineup with Butler, Lowry, and Bam, and I don't even care what else you throw out there. You have 3 playoff dudes who are just hellacious.
Yeah, and then you get Tyler off the bench dropping 25.
And Duncan Robinson just running and throwing up threes. Like it's a pretty damn good built team. It may not be great because they, as far as regular season goes, it'd be a very good, but maybe not great regular season team because they have shooting variance. But you put them in a half court for an entire playoff series, I don't think you want to play that team.
Well, it's a much physical game. It's a much more physical game this year now with the way they're officiating.
What's it going to be like in the playoffs?
I was going to say the playoffs, it's going to pick up more. And who's that going to benefit? Half-court defensive teams like Miami. Look, if they're struggling with wins, that's just a coaching thing. It's not roster construction. That's all coaching's fault.
Love it. Love it. That's my love it tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all so very much. We're going to get out of here on that. Remember, you can like, rate, review, subscribe. Find the podcast wherever podcasts available. The podcast continues to grow. If you're watching here on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Help us grow the channel. We are just short of 2,100. Feels like we just hit 2,000 just the other day. And we did. It's because it just keeps growing because everybody is so bleeping awesome. So thank you all so very much. We'll have you covered here for the post-game show. And hopefully the Blazers get their second road win of the season. If not,
well, I mean, we're kind of expecting that. So if it's a win, it'd be great.
It's going to feel great.
Yeah.
I tell you this. If they are competitive tonight and it's just a coin toss in the final 2 minutes, I'll take it.
Hell yeah, you just want to see some fight.
They just haven't been there.
Yeah.
So I think that's an improvement. And God, I hate moral victories, but
Yeah, I mean, moral victories are for minor league coaches, but at this point, I'll take that.
They kind of need a moral victory.
Yeah.
Like if they get on the plane going, hey, man, the shot just didn't fall tonight. I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with that. All right, so we'll catch you guys on the postgame